Unmuted.
This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. Gentlemen, please remove your hats, and everyone please silence all electronic equipment. No disruptive behavior or outburst will be tolerated, and violators are subject to ejection and possible prosecution.
La Junta del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Caballeros, favor de quitarse las cachuchas / sombreros, y todos favor de poner en silencio todo equipo electrónico. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas se le sacará y puede ser infraccionado.
It is 8:10 a.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
That recording, who made that? Okay. May I suggest we get rid of the word cachucha? It's corriente. Hats, todo tipo de sombreros should be, yeah, cachucha does not sound right. Please. Thank you.
Item number 3, Establishment of Quorum.
Rubén Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Here.
Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos.
Here.
Rudy Cruz. And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Ms. Villalobos?
Here. Yes? Can you hear me?
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay.
Thank you. Item number 4, Public Comment.
No speakers for public comment.
Moving on to presentations. Item number 5, Workshop and Discussion and Action on Approving Capital Improvement Items for the Capital Program.
Getting my voice. Right. Good morning, Mayor and Council.
a great day to be in Socorro, isn't it? No. All right.
Yes.
I'm going to be presenting the capital budget for this upcoming fiscal year. Next slide. I will start with a short recap with the city. Has about $74 million in estimated projects. There is COs that city took out in 2019 in the amount of $10 million. There's also ARPA funds that we received, and currently we have about $6.9 million. There is a grant and a loan from the Texas Water Development Board in the amount of $9.7 million. The city has spent $7,700,000 year to date, leaving us with $2,289,000 in capital funds. Next slide. Wanted to provide a TXDOT for the reimbursement update. So as you all see, in the last couple of years, we were having some issues in getting reimbursement from TXDOT. It seems like we're up to date, and I wanted to give you guys an update on that. For the Rio Vista Bridge, the amount paid by the city was $393,000. We have received about $298,000. That is a 75.98% reimbursed. We have Bowie Road, that's $393,729. We have been reimbursed $233,635. That's 59.34%. For Arterial 1, we have spent $1.8 million. We've been reimbursed 1.7 at a 92.87 reimbursement. We have Nuevo Hueco Tanks Road that we spent about $2 million. We've been reimbursed about 1.5 at a 74.84%. We also have our Passmore Shared Use Path we've spent $566,752. We've been reimbursed $141,426. That is at a 24.95. Next slide. These are outstanding invoices. We have a total of 4 in the amount of $269,158. Do you all have any questions on the TXDOT reimbursement?
Mr. Cruz?
So the 3.9 down at the bottom for the amount reimbursed, and I know we're awaiting more. It's on the next page, but so how does it work then? The city pretty much fronted the project, and then we because of the federal funding or TXDOT funding?
Correct. So what we use our COs 2019 to pay, right, for the engineering services, and then we get reimbursed, and it goes into that pot.
And the reason why I ask is because I know Thursday night there was a lot of questions about the funding and the project for the arterial. Whatever arterial we decide to build, should the city decide to build connectivity, is this going to be the same? The city at the end of the day is going to front the money and then receive reimbursements as the project progresses, or is that a different type of funding source? And
I'm sorry, repeat the question?
so if, say we were to start on the arterial, for instance, is the city responsible for fronting the funding as the project progresses and then receive reimbursements back? Or is it just going to be funded by federal highway dollars 80% and the city's responsible for 20%?
Correct. So we're only responsible for 20%, but we first have to pay in order to get reimbursed.
Okay, so we have to come up with the money regardless. If
Yeah.
it's a $50 million project, we got to come up with $50 million.
Correct, right. So the work is being done in accordance to how our budget looks, right? So the invoicing comes in order to make sure that we're not overstepping. But I mean, we do know we're getting reimbursed. Right now, we feel pretty comfortable with TXDOT where we're getting that flow and we're getting comfortable in getting reimbursed more rapidly.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Martinez?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Council. Jim Martinez, City Attorney. Mr. Cruz, to address your question, the city manager is correct. Just one hint, the agreement that TXDOT has the local entities sign is called a LPAFA, LPAFA. It's local, it stands for Local Project Advanced Funding Agreement. So, and they mean advance. That means the city has to pay first.
Any other questions? Move to next slide, please. So the next slide is the project list. I want to move on to the list that is outgoing projects first. So we have the flood infrastructure Sparks Arroyo in progress. That is funded by the Texas Water Development Board. We have the sidewalk phase 2 in progress, reviewing bid documents at this time. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will go out to bid. Should come to council in July to award that contract so we can start the construction on the sidewalks. We also have Cougar Park improvements, completed initial upgrade. We are pending funding to enhance parks, and we'll talk about that a little bit further on. And that is the Cougar Park improvements upgrade was conducted by general fund. The sidewalk, we're using COs 2019. Next slide. Project list continued is we have engineering services in progress. This is combined depending on the project. And something that Mr. Cruz kind of asked right now is we use the funding and then we get reimbursed. It just depends. Engineering is for different projects. So I can't pinpoint, I can't give you like exactly what project, but every project, different engineers are working on. But we allocate funding for that. Then moving on to the TXDOT projects, which is Arteria 1, which is in progress. Nuevo Hueco Tax Road Extension in progress. This is funded through TXDOT, and we also have a TRZ on that project. Next slide. We have the Bovee Bridge extension in progress. This is TXDOT and local match contributions. And right now, these two next projects are on hold until the Water Irrigation District ends their water season. So that won't start till after October 1st. Okay, so it's Rio Vista and Rio Bovee Bridge. Then we move on to Passmore Shared Use Path. We're at about a 75%, 80% complete. Pending items include the long lead items and work in the district right away. Installation of the pedestrian bridge at Franklin Feeder, culvert extension at Franklin Drain, riprap at the Clint Lateral, installation of illumination poles, and relocation of mailboxes. That's what's pending right now. Project looks continued. We had the mechanic hut shop, which is 98% complete. We did use COs 2019. Right now, we are working on the rehabilitation of our ambulance station at Puna and our animal control at Rio Vista. And these could be potential ARPA funds, but we're still pending information from the attorney to see if they do qualify under ARPA. If not, they're being captured with COs 2019, just to make sure we capture that cost. If they are approved through ARPA, then we would release those funds back into the COs. And then let's not forget our Rio Vista campus. That's in progress. That's all based on grants. There's really not any allocated funding for the entire project. But that's where we're working with appropriations, grants, and any funding that we can find. Then we have the Rio Vista Bracero Museum. We're using the Mellon Foundation grant that came in through the community initiative through the Mellon Foundation. And then we have our Rio Vista Health Clinic, which is in progress, and that is funded through ARPA. Next slide talks about our proposed projects. We have the TASA application for bus shelters, sidewalks, and mission trails. We also want to bring Rio Vista paving. It's called a hot in place. They recycle the current asphalt, and that street qualifies. And this is from Alameda to North Loop. The cost for that would be about $90,000. If we overlay, it's about $197,000 with the milling and the asphalt, with the tack oil and all of that. So it's a cost savings. However, we've never done the HUD in place. We've seen videos. It seems like a good project, and they're guaranteeing it for 7 years, right? What they do say is that, so they melt the pavement, and then they smooth it. You'll still be able to see, like, if it has, like, what do they call, alligator cracks? You'll still be able to see those, but they're sealed, right? So, I mean, I would recommend we should try that. Not every street would qualify because it has to be a certain length in order for us to go in there. And they would have to do it really early in the morning, or we would do it at night. And the summer is preferred because of the hot weather. We also added the Montreal walking trail to the COs of the $30,000 that have been already approved by council. We are also asking for engineering services for park improvements to go after funding. I know Ms. Colombia Lobos had asked for Amistad Park. Staff came with Cougar Park and Jardín de Flores to give upgrades. I have talked to Mr. Nevarez, who wishes to add either Moon Park or Paradise Park, and Mr. Garcia wanted Calisto or Valles Park. And I wanted to get any feedback from any other council members to see if there's interest in, because I know, like, the biggest park that you have is Bulldog and Cougar.
The best ones? No.
You are
Well,
correct.
let me speak about the worst one. Amistad Park really needs attention.
Yes.
Yes.
No, so I agree.
Yeah.
I think that we need to allocate a little bit more funding for our parks because I'm seeing a lot more activity. Our city's getting younger, and there's a lot of people out there. Their grandparents playing with their grandchildren, or their parents playing with their kids. But we really need to focus on the activities of the youth and start investing more in our community that way in the parks, because I've driven by some of them and they look like out of a horror movie, and
No,
we
they
need
do.
to.
They do.
Let's do
I'm
something. Yeah.
I'm not disputing that at all.
I agree with Mr. Nevarez on both of the parks that he suggested. I've driven by Moon City Park, and I have to disclose that I live near there, and it just looks in really bad shape. The mural is starting to get a little faded, and there's been taggings on the wall ball court on the other side that needs to be fixed. There's, benches that are cracked and broken. They're cement, but now they're just on the floor, broken, and the canopies are just torn from wear and tear. So I agree with Mr. Nevarez.
And as for me, I got Valles Park and the Jalisco Park, and they're fairly new because of the houses there. It's no more than 10 years, but the upkeep has always been the hard part, and of course, we don't have a lot of manpower, and we want to make sure I guess something that will be self-sufficient for the parks.
Correct, and for this project, we are asking for the engineer to bring us numbers, that way we can go after funding, because there are potential funding mechanisms that we can use to improve and upgrade those parks. But we have to identify exactly what it is. So the engineer comes in and gives you a recommendation of what the park needs to bring it up to par.
Ms. Villalobos?
Ms. Rodarte, do you think we could look at all our parks and kind of do a scale on them, just like we did with the streets? Which ones are the worst, down to, those that are holding up a little bit better, kind of list, and then go after all those funds. And we don't have but maybe 20-something parks, not including the new parks that have been built by or installed by the builders that we are now upkeeping.
Correct, so you do have a Socorro Parks Master Plan, which has
Okay.
already identified each park, and it gives you an inventory of each park needing. It's just, our constraints are the funding that we
Okay.
don't have. So right now, I want to move forward with at least a couple of parks, so that's why I'm bringing, like, I know you had requested Amistad, but what other parks are we going to place so we can get that engineering report in order for us to go after that funding?
Okay, and on that master plan, there's it identifies the worst to the least needed ones.
No, it just gives you an inventory of each park.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, I'm not sure if that's, I think it's a good idea to tackle those that are the worst, because I don't know when's the last time Amistad was updated, but it sure looks like it was done maybe once and then forgotten about, and that could have been years ago.
Yes, I just, so we already know what parks need help. I just need to identify the
Okay.
funding, right? Because
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
want to prolong this process. We
Right.
kind of need to move on this fairly quickly instead of us going back and going after every park and then coming back and telling you, well, I mean, we know Moon Park needs it, we know Amistad Park needs it, and we also know that
Okay.
we can't do all of them at one time. So I would like to identify at least 4 parks, if not more, and then next year we can go after another set of parks.
Gotcha. Yes, ma'am.
That would be my
Amistad should be one of
recommendation.
them.
Yes,
Yes,
that would
Amistad should be one of them. Yes, ma'am.
I agree. I agree, at least maybe one per district to make it fair for everyone. Maybe on yours.
But Rudy's got the
Yeah,
best one,
that's
so
what I
he
was
can
gonna,
offer
that's what I was
his.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Rudy's got the best parks.
We took care of
So, yeah, we are taking care of Cougar, so maybe we can do another park in another place, but definitely, spread it around, you
Yes.
know?
So we did pitch Cougar because it does need, to really make it, it does need more work.
Okay.
And that's why we want to go after funding for that. For Cougar, so we had Amistad, Cougar, and Jardín de Flores. Jardín de Flores is fairly new, but it's a huge park, and our youth, and it's very utilized. So we do feel we have a field to even be able to, do different events in that field, but we would need a couple of upgrades, lighting. And
I was gonna mention that.
Oh, 1 second, please, Mr. Reyes was next.
grills.
I was just gonna make a comment about the newer parks, like Mr. Garcia said. I think before they were kind of overseen, and we would just get whatever the new developments the builders would bring us, and we weren't paying much attention to them. I think not too long ago, we started putting a little bit more attention to them, asking for more. Before they would just set some grass to trees and call it a park. And now it's, you gotta have benches, shades, jungle gym, and I think that's gonna help a lot the city. Making sure that they make decent parks.
Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, so to piggyback off what Mr. Reyes said, I think that there's a standard in place. It's up to this body to develop a better standard. So no more cement benches, no more wood benches. We want something that's gonna be there for a longer time. There's park equipment that can.
Mr. Cruz, we can't hear you on this end.
Everyone can hear me here. So we need to develop a
Good.
standard that we can all agree to and say, you know what? And then also speak with the developers, and say we want lights now, because I know that's a thing. There's no lighting in the parks after dark.
Right.
Lighting, and then maybe a desert landscape that doesn't require so much maintenance, like the grassy areas. It's very hard to maintain, and you got the weeds. That's manpower. So we can throw like base, gravel, some nice screening and desert landscape. I think we'll be all right.
I did propose this new, I guess these new benches. They're all recycled material, So we might be able to get grants on those for the parks. It just depends on, I proposed this to Ms. Rodarte and to Ms. Alejandra for grants to see if we can get those for the park. So I guess we'll take a look at that as well.
Correct. Right now, I just need to identify the parks.
The parks, yes.
That way we can go to the engineer, give us a better number. So right now, I know it's $40,000 for those 3 parks. At least add another 3 and allocate about $80,000 through capital for that, so we can go after funding.
So we have 3 right now.
Which
Is
is
that
Amistad,
Amistad,
Cougar, and Jardín de
Cougar, and
Flores.
Jardín de Flores.
Would you please add the Moon City one?
I
Okay.
vote on Moon City as well.
And
It's in
also
really bad shape.
Jalisco Park and Valles Park as well.
Correct, and maybe Paradise we can tackle through our general fund budget. When we have that workshop, we can allocate some funding for Paradise. Okay. So moving on to I also want to pitch the 3rd phase of sidewalks. Right now that we already have an engineering on board, the process isn't going to take that long. I think what took so long was the engineer coming in, getting accustomed to the sidewalk. We're getting ready to bid. What they're telling me is once we approve it, in about 3 months, we'll have bid documents and then move forward. I am asking for $660,000 for the 3rd phase of sidewalks.
Mr. Garcia?
Ms. Rodarte, we just passed, I think it was about $700,000, was that for the last one? For phase 2, how much was that?
600,000.
600,000 for phase 2?
600,000. Right now, the bid documents are telling us that it's gonna be probably like at 656,000.
Okay.
Which we are capturing that cost through this capital workshop.
And
under COs.
I really like that because we all got sidewalks for our districts. I think we should repeat that as well and have a little wiggle room. Maybe $750,000 for that, just to make sure that we all get our like we just did with our parks. I think all districts should get sidewalks as well.
Yes. I think, so the 660, because you are also having a TASA application that is actually looking at sidewalks in about $25 million. And that application is looking very positive. It's gone through the process, and all of our 3 projects are looking very positive to getting approved.
Excellent.
So I think 660, because we really don't want to interrupt what has already been submitted,
Okay.
and then see where we can, whatever wasn't submitted, we can focus there. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Yes. And then we have the comprehensive plan, which is 225,000 that we're also capturing through the COs. And that, actually, we just signed the contract, and we should be in negotiation, so you're gonna start seeing public meetings and those things happening fairly quickly. It would be very important for you guys to attend those public meetings, because that's gonna tell you how you want the city to grow in the next 20 years. What do you wanna see? And then the last part is our municipal security upgrades. We want to allocate $87,000 to that, and that's upgrading our windows to bulletproof and our doors to be sealed doors. And our courts is not secure at all, where our judge comes in. So we want to start working and making sure that we make it a safer place.
Mr. Reyes?
Have we looked into grants? I know that the county set up all the JPs bulletproof, and it was a grant that they got.
No, we haven't, but we can definitely go out there and see. What's a little is that we are a historic building, so going for a grant would require engineering services, and it gets really, really costly. So those are the proposed projects for this coming fiscal year. I want to go ahead and move to the next slide, which talks about our...
I'm sorry. Hello, Mr. Rodarte?
Yes, ma'am.
The 225,000 includes to secure our our courts, right? The upgrades that you need?
No, ma'am, the 225,000 is for our comprehensive plan.
Okay. Do
For
we
the
know how
courts
much it's gonna cost to upgrade our courts?
that we're
And-
allocating $87,000.
Okay. Okay, got it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I needed to write that down. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Then I want to move on to, we have 24 ARPA projects that are currently having to be committed by 2024. With that being said, I feel that with the staff that we have right now, that should be our main focus on 2024, to making sure that we spend those funds, because we don't want to return any funds back to the government if you don't spend them. If we don't spend them, that's what we would have to do, because we only have a certain amount. So in the next 3 months, I'm going to be sitting with staff, making sure where we're at. If that project is not moving forward, or it feels like we won't be able to spend it by the time we have allotted, then we will be making amendments to making sure that we add other projects that are moving forward. We add that funding to that.
Mr. Garcia?
How can we help to make sure that stays a priority for you guys and make sure the manpower we need stays on this?
Don't add any other projects.
Okay, that's exactly what I need to hear.
Either do the parks or we do this.
Okay. We'll keep at that.
You know, we have, and just as 2019, you know, we're on the 5th year, and we still haven't been able to spend those $10 million, just because there's a lot of red tape, right? So we have to get through all of that red tape, and I have a very competent staff that I feel that we're going to be able to get it done, but we really need to focus on making sure we spend those funds.
I have a problem with spending, so invite me.
Most definitely, sir. Do you all have any questions regarding ARPA funds? No? All right, and then next slide, wanted to talk about the funding sources, which I gave you a recap at the very beginning of this presentation. But we have the COs 2019, 10 million. We have $2.3 million that are available right now to spend. We have the ARPA funds, which was, we received $8.5 million. At this time, we have 6.9. We also have TRZ. That TRZ right now, we have captured through the general fund. It's almost $2 million, which in the general fund, you won't be able to use those $2 million. They're no longer available in your reserves because they're captured by the TRZ. Then we have the Texas Water Development Board. We have the 10 million in total. 6.6 is a loan. 3.4 is the grant agreement. We have available right now $9.7 million. And then we have the Mellon Foundation, $750,000. And right now available is $762,000. Federal state awards, we have $2.6 million. Total of 21 active grants. And then in the reserve, we have $1.1 million available. Do y'all have any questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Cruz?
So next year, I'm seeing maybe a potential category that may capture commercial. You know how we have the base property tax for TRZ? Are we going to capture in a different category what the all the commercial is bringing in, or that's also captured here?
Yes, so the TRZ, right? So the TRZ was not collecting any funding, and now that you have Socorro Logistics there, it's moving to $2 million.
Okay.
In the next coming years, that can change because you froze like the property taxes back in 2010. So whatever's coming, whatever development, you're really not seeing that we're able to put it in the general fund because you have to capture it for the Nuevo Hueco Tex Road project.
Understood, okay.
Any other questions? And with that, staff is recommending to approve the capital worksheet, unless you guys want to make any changes or suggestions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz. And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz. And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to delete items 7, 8, and 9?
Motion to delete items 7, 8, and 9.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz. And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Anybody like to do the honors?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz. And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Meeting adjourns at 8:44 a.m. Have a great day.
Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing.